Let's start with a few basic questions that come up when we see a crowd protesting in the streets. Can the government just shut down a protest? Can you be arrested for what you are protesting? And why does it seem like some protests face harsher crackdowns than others? To answer these questions, we have to look past the headlines. We need to understand where these rights actually come from, and more importantly, how and when they become enforceable. It all starts with the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. This amendment, the foundation of what this country stands for, specifically protects your right to free speech, to assembly, and to petition the government. But there is an important clarification to keep in mind. When the Bill of Rights was written, it originally only limited the federal government. Back then, if a state or a city wanted to ban a public meeting or silence a speaker, the First Amendment didn't necessarily stop them. For over a century, your right to protest basically depended on which state you lived in. There was no national standard. This started to change after the Civil War with the 14th Amendment. This amendment introduced the Due Process Clause, which eventually led to a legal process called selective incorporation. Think of incorporation as a bridge. It's the legal doctrine that the Supreme Court used to say that these First Amendment rights are so fundamental that state and local governments have to follow them too. Because of the 14th Amendment and the Due Process Clause, protest rights to all people became enforceable nationwide. It meant a city council in a small town had to respect the First Amendment just as much as the president does. These legal concepts were put to use by the people through social movements. During the Civil Rights Movement, which happened during the 1950s and 1960s, activists used the right to assembly to challenge segregation, often forcing the federal courts to step in and protect them from local police. We saw this again during the Vietnam War movements, where the courts had to decide if symbolic speech, like wearing an armband or burning a draft card, was protected, and we see it today in modern movements across the country. Each of these moments acts as a catalyst. They push the legal boundaries and force the government to define exactly where public order ends and free speech begins. Now, these rights aren't absolute. In the United States, the government can impose what are called time, place, and manner restrictions. They can require a permit for a parade or tell you that you can't use a megaphone in a residential neighborhood at 2 a.m. But there's a catch. Those rules must be content neutral. They can't shut you down because they don't like your message. They can shut you down if you're engaging in criminal conduct, like for example, blocking an ambulance or inciting immediate violence. Compare that to other political systems. In many authoritarian countries, assembly is a privilege, not a right. You often need explicit government permission to gather, and that permission is rarely given to critics. In the United States, the default is that you have the right, and the government carries the burden of proof if they want to stop you. To conclude, let's take a look at the difference incorporation has made. Without corporation, your rights varied by state, and your local governments had the final say on who could speak and what could be said. Because of corporation, the First Amendment is a national shield. You have the same fundamental rights in every city and every state. So, can they arrest you for what you chant? Generally, no. Can they shut down a protest? Only if it breaks neutral safety laws. The right to protest is designed to be a safety valve for our democracy, ensuring that the power to speak isn't just held by the people in office, but by the people in the streets. Ultimately, understanding the mechanics behind our right to protest is about more than just legal history. It's about knowing the tools we have to participate in our democracy. From the selective incorporation of the 14th Amendment to the daily protests we see on the streets across the country, these rights remain a work in progress, shaped by each generation that chooses to use them. As you look at the movements of today and tomorrow, remember that while the Constitution provides the framework, it is the people who provide the voice. It's that balance of law and expression that keeps the safety valve of our system working. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to Everything Policy for more facts-first policy information. See you all next time.